All right, everybody, what is up? Welcome. This is Mr. Rosen. Hope you're doing well. Today we're going to talk about the metric system and metric prefixes. We're going to convert from a metric prefix to a base unit and the other way around. We're also going to do some non-metric unit conversions or multi-step conversions. So the metric system is based on powers of 10, and this first page is going to have a bit of text, so if at any point you want to pause the video to just read it, that's great. But as I said, the metric system is based on powers of 10, and memorizing some of the prefixes is pretty much unavoidable. You just sort of have to do it and become comfortable with it, and practice will help make that possible. So there's a table here, and you can see a bunch of the prefixes, and some of them might seem more exotic to you than others, something like hecto or tera, although these days you might hear terabyte or gigabyte in terms of computing. But some of these you maybe have never heard of before, like femto. So there are a lot of prefixes, and you could just keep going in both directions with these. The ones that you're going to have memorized for my class would be kilo, centi, and milli. Okay, and then there are some other ones, from 1 billion to 1 billionth that you should be able to convert from or between with the help of a table like this. Okay, but kilo, centi, and milli, you'll be expected to solve without being given any table or anything. Now, on this table, I'm going to zoom in a bit. You can see that there is, it says unit right here, and then there's a 1, and this is our base unit, one base unit. Now, the base unit is just whatever you're going to be measuring. So let's say you are measuring length. If you are measuring length in the metric system, your base unit would be a meter. I'm kind of writing at a weird angle here, so I apologize. My handwriting's not good, even in the best of conditions. If you were measuring a volume, then you would be using a liter. If you were measuring a mass, then you would be using the gram. Okay, now these would all be one base unit. So 1 liter, 1 meter, 1 gram, those are all base units. Okay, now you would use a metric prefix if you had either a multiple of one of those base units or a fraction or part of one of those base units. Now, you can see here it says less than, and you can see it here, it says greater than. So anything that is above the line for a unit, okay, anything that's above this is more than one base unit. Greater than one base unit. So if it says deca with a K, if it says deca, that means 10. That's 10 is how many base units it is. So a decameter is 10 meters. It's 10 base units. Or a kilometer is 1,000 meters. 1,000 base units. Now, if your base unit was gram, a kilogram, it's still 1,000. It's 1,000 base units, 1,000 grams. So a kilogram is 1,000 grams. If the prefix is below the line, this is less than 1 base unit. So if you had deci, for example, a decimeter, okay, a decimeter, deci is a tenth of 1 base unit, meaning 10 decimeters go into 1 meter. It's a tenth of 1 meter. It's a fraction of the base unit. Centi is 100th of a base unit. So if you had a centimeter, that's 100th of a meter, meaning there are 100 centimeters in 1 meter. And milli is 1,000th. Now, you could probably see, well, if there are 1,000 millimeters in a meter and there are 100 centimeters in a meter, that means that there are 10 millimeters in 1 centimeter. You can start to see how these are related to each other. So we're going to be practicing using the prefixes. All right. Now, down here is an example. It says 1 gram as the base unit. A milligram is blank grams. A kilogram is blank grams. So milli is this prefix here, which is 1,000th. Okay, it's less than 1. So we could write 1 over 1,000, or you could actually take 1 and divide it by 1,000, and you would get this number, 0.001. Okay, so a milligram is 1,000th of a gram. A kilogram, kilo is up here, kilo is 1,000 base units. So a kilogram is 1,000 grams. Now we're going to practice converting between them. Okay, and the way that we convert between them is called dimensional analysis. It's also called the factor label method. And we're going to be using this approach to problem solving whenever we do conversions. And you're actually going to use this throughout the whole school year. Okay, so whether we're talking about prefixes or talking about grams and moles, whatever a mole is, you're going to be using the same approach math-wise in terms of solving the problems. So the steps, it says, step 1, write the given number and unit. Step 2, or letter B, set up a conversion factor. Okay, now factor is something you multiply by, and conversion means it's going to help you convert from one unit to the other. Okay. Now a conversion factor is based on an equivalence statement. Equivalence statement means that 2 terms are equal. So for example, 1,000 meters is equal to 1 kilometer, 1 kilometer. That's an equivalence statement. If you know how many of one unit goes into a certain amount of the other unit, then you can convert between them. Make sure that the thing on top has the unit of what you're trying to find, and make sure the thing on bottom has the unit that you want to get rid of or cancel out. Okay, and whichever unit is bigger gets a 1 placed in front of it. So that's the most common for our problems. I think the easiest thing to do is just do an example. So the example here, it says 75.6 kilometers equals how many meters? So our first step is to write the number given. So I'm just going to rewrite this, 75.6 kilometers. And then I'm going to say times something over something else. This is going to be my conversion factor. It's the thing that I'm going to multiply this by to convert from kilometers to what I'm trying to find. Now, what I'm trying to find is meters. So what it says here about the numerator is we want the unit we're trying to find to go on top. So meter is going to go on top. And the unit we're given, the one we want to cancel out, is going to go on bottom. So I'm going to put kilometers on bottom. Now in terms of the numbers here, you need to know how many of one of these is equal to how many of the other. Okay, now I did happen to write this just earlier. That is 1,000 meters is equal to 1 kilometer. So that's our equivalence statement. 1 kilometer is 1,000 meters. These two things are equal to each other. Right? So if 1 kilometer is 1,000 meters, then 2 kilometers would be 2,000 meters, 3 kilometers would be 3,000 meters, 75 kilometers would be 75,000 meters, right? Hopefully you see the direction this is going. But the math we're going to do is this number times 1,000 divided by 1. Now, if you take a number and divide it by 1, it doesn't do anything. Okay, so in fact, all that happens here is our units of kilometers will cancel, and we'll be left with our answer in meters, which is what we want. And if you take 75.6 times 1,000, you're going to get 75,600 meters. So that's how you convert from one unit to another. We're going to do the same setup a bunch of different times. So at any point, of course, you can always pause the video and then play as I work through them. Okay, so here is a next set of practice problems. If you want to pause the video and try these, then try to solve them and write your answer down, and then check your answers. And be honest with yourself. See how you did. Okay, I'm going to solve these out, or solve these problems. Step 1, write the number that's given, 83.3 grams, times something over something else. Okay, now the unit we're trying to find is milligrams, so that's going to go on top. So I write mg on top. The unit that we're given is grams, so grams goes on bottom. Now you need to know how these two things are related. Now, milli, if you need to, you can go back to your chart here. Milli is not up here, it's actually down here. A milli is 1,000th of a base unit, meaning there are 1,000 milligrams in 1 gram. Okay, so a gram is bigger than a milligram, right? So in 1 gram, we have 1,000 milligrams. Unit of gram will cancel, and you'll be left with your answer in milligrams. If 1 gram is 1,000 milligrams, 2 grams is 2,000 milligrams, 83.3 grams is 83,300 milligrams. All right, I'm going to continue. 65.5 meters times something over something else. Nanometers goes on top, nm, and meters goes on bottom. Okay, now nano is not a prefix that I had you memorize, but you can look at your chart, and nano is way down here. Nano is a billionth of a base unit, which means there are a billion nanometers in 1 meter. So in 1 meter, you have a billion nanometers. So you could write that a couple different ways. I'll actually just write it out. It's a 1 with 9 zeros. All right. That's a billion. You could have also written, a billion. You could have written 10 to the 9th power if you're comfortable with exponents. But here it is. And the math is the same here. Meters will cancel, and we'll end up with our answer in nanometers. We're taking our number times a billion, because a billion nanometers are in 1 meter, and we have 65.5 meters. So this turns into 65 billion 500 million. Oops. Sort of ran out of room there a little bit. Sorry about that. Maybe I'll just try to fix this whole thing. Sorry. Got a little bit too cramped. I don't even know if that helped. Sorry. It's 65,500,000,000 nanometers. Sorry, that does not look very good. Okay, and now here we have 28.9 milliliters is how many kiloliters. Now, this is a problem where we're going from a metric prefix to a different metric prefix. It might be best to do this in 2 steps, right? Because in all of these ones above, we were going to or from a base unit, meters or grams. But in this case, these are both non-base units. So if you know how many milliliters are in a kiloliter, you can do this in 1 step. But if you don't know, then you should probably do it in 2 steps. So let's do this in 2 steps. We're going to go to our base unit of liter first. So we're going to go from milliliter to liter, because 1 liter has 1,000 milliliters. That's pretty easy, right? That's easier than going from milliliter to kiloliters. So this converts from milliliters to liters. And dividing by 1,000 is the same as moving the decimal point 1, 2, 3 places to the left. So that's going to be 0.0289 liters. Now the answer is not this many liters. It needs to be in kiloliters. So we converted from milliliters to liters, and now you convert from liters to kiloliters. Kiloliters goes on top and liters on bottom. In 1 kiloliter, there are 1,000 liters. Just like in 1 kilogram, there are 1,000 grams. So I'm going to divide this by 1,000 again. Liters this time will cancel, and I'll be left with my answer in kiloliters. So I'm moving the decimal 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Oops. 2, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3. Yep, that should be fine. That's 1, 2, 3, 4. That's 4 zeros, and then 2, 8, 9. That's a multi-step problem, which is hard, but we're going to do more practice. So no worries if you're confused about that. Now, you can convert not just between, these are all in the metric system using metric prefixes, but we can do conversions with other systems of units. So, there's more than one way to measure mass, for example. If you look here, you can pause to read that, but I will say it. It says, we're going to use some non-metric units. So you could measure mass using the kilogram, or you could measure mass using pounds, right? If you step on a scale, it probably says pounds. But if you were somewhere else, it would probably say kilograms. For length, instead of doing a meter or a kilometer, a kilometer, you could do miles or you could do inches, right? These are non-metric units. So 1 meter is 39.37 inches. 1 kilometer is about 0.621 miles. You could measure volume. Instead of liters, you could do gallons. Okay, so there are different units that are not in the metric system, and we can convert between those, which is what we're going to practice here. And the math is set up the same way as before, but we're not focusing on powers of 10. If you noticed in the last problem, we were always multiplying or dividing by some multiple of 10, which really just meant we were moving the decimal to the left or to the right. So this first problem here, it says we have kilograms, and they're trying to have you solve for they're trying to have you solve for pounds. Just trying to get that focused. Okay. So, as always, we're going to write 11.9 kilograms. We always write what's given times something over something else. Now, what we're trying to find is pounds, LBS, and what we're given is kilograms, so kilograms goes on bottom. Now, the big thing here is knowing the equivalence statement. How many kilograms are in a pound, or how many pounds are in a kilogram? How are those related to each other? Fortunately, that question is answered here in the table. And this is one you should know. How many pounds are in a kilogram? 2.205 pounds is in 1 kilogram. So in 1 kilogram, it's 2.205 pounds. So if 1 kilogram is 2.205 pounds, 2 kilograms would be like 4.41 pounds. 11.9 kilograms would be 11.9 kilograms times 2.205, about 26.2. All right, 26.24, but we're going to learn about significant figures in a future lesson. We'll just say it's about this for now, and that's fine, and that's pounds. So hopefully you see, even though we weren't using metric prefixes, we could still do the exact same math, have our units, kilograms, cancel, and convert from one unit to another, as long as you know the equivalent statement. So if you want to pause to do these next ones, that's fine. You can check your answers, but I'm about to just work through them. 35.2 miles times something over something else. Kilometers is what we're trying to find. Miles is what we're given. So kilometers goes on top. Now, how are those two things related to each other? How many miles is in a kilometer? How many kilometers is in a mile? That's also here in our table. 1 kilometer is 0.621 miles. So miles is going to cancel here and give us our answer in kilometers. Okay, now I'm going to bring back the calculator. It's a little bit hard to see. Hold on one second. I'm going to try to lighten it a little bit. Not sure if that even helped, but okay. 35.2 divided by 0.621, and we get 56.7 approximately kilometers. Now you should ask yourself, does that make sense? Well, we're converting from miles to kilometers, and there are more kilometers in a mile, so we should have a bigger number. Okay, we'll do another one here. This is going to be centimeters to inches. So we write what's given, 823 centimeters times something over something else. Inches is what we're trying to find, and centimeters is what we're given. How are those two things related? If we look up here, this is another one you should know. 1 inch is about 2.54 centimeters. So 1 inch is about 2.54 centimeters. So centimeters is going to cancel here, and we're going to get our answer in inches. Bring back the calculator. Hopefully you can see this. 823 times 1, it's the same number, divided by 2.54. We get about 324. That's now going to be our answer in inches. And that makes sense because 1 inch is 2.54 centimeters. So it should be a smaller number of inches than what we started with. Same math every time, different conversion factors. Make sure you're canceling your units. Okay? So far we've talked about metric prefixes. We've practiced converting between metric prefixes. We've covered non-metric prefix units and some of those conversions. And the next thing I want to do is some practice with multi-step problems. Okay, so I did one multi-step problem earlier in the video with kiloliters and milliliters, something like that. But here it says that sometimes you need to use more than one step to do a conversion, and you string together multiple conversions. But each conversion step is the same, and you cancel one unit and go to another. So you can see some of the problems here on the page. If you want to pause and just jot these down on a piece of paper, just try to solve them. Go ahead and then watch me do them. So this first problem says, a person's 5 feet 10 inches tall. How many centimeters is that? So this is a little bit confusing because you actually have two different units in this one measurement. You have feet and you have inches. So it's probably easiest just to convert this entirely to inches first. So 1 foot is 12 inches, right? 1 foot is 12 inches. So 5 feet, and this is a conversion factor, right? 12 inches in 1 foot, right? We're converting from feet to inches. 5 times 12 will cancel feet, and that will give us 60 inches. So 5 feet is 60 inches. But we also, it's 5 feet 10. So 60 plus 10. And that gives us 70 inches. Right? So I just converted 5 feet into inches, and then I added 10 to that, so we get 70 inches. So 5 foot 10 is 70 inches. But now we have to convert it to centimeters. So what we're trying to find is centimeters, that goes on top, inches is on bottom. We just did a problem on the previous page, and we saw that 1 inch is 2.54 centimeters. And you can refer back to your table if you want to. But if 1 inch is 2.54 centimeters, 2 inches would be about 5.08 centimeters. We have 70 inches. So we're going to take 70 times 2.54. Inches will cancel, and we will be left with our answer in centimeters. So bringing back our calculator here, it's just hard to see, sorry. Well, I'm covering it, but 70 inches times 2.54, because that's how many centimeters are in 1 inch. We get about, and I'm going to round to 3, so about 178 centimeters. About 178 centimeters. Okay, I did a little rounding there, but it's fine. This is an example of a multi-step problem. I converted from feet to inches, and then converted from inches to centimeters. But each step along the way, I'm using a conversion factor and canceling my units. All right, next problem. 13.4 gallons is how many milliliters? Now, on the previous page, it tells you how many gallons are in a liter. So 1 liter is about 2.64 gallons. So I'm going to put liter on top and gallons on bottom. 1 liter is 0.264 gallons. This will convert from gallons to liters, okay? Gallons will cancel, and this will give me some number of liters. So if I take 13.4 and I divide it by 0.264, I get about, I'm going to leave it in my calculator, but about 50.7. I'm just jotting this number down, but I'm actually going to just leave this in my calculator. So about, pretty close to 50.75 or 76 liters. It's asking for milliliters, so we now need to do one more step. Milliliters is what we're trying to find. Liters is what we're given. That goes on bottom. In 1 liter, there are 1,000 milliliters. So we're taking this number times 1,000. Our units of liters will cancel, and we'll be left with an answer in milliliters. So taking this number times 1,000 is the same as moving its decimal place 1, 2, 3 places to the right. So instead of 50, we're going to have 50,000 7. I guess I'm just going to say 760. And that's fine. We're just going to round it at that, and that's our number of milliliters. All right, just continuing on, multi-step problems. And then we'll have a challenge problem, which I'll pause for. But let's see. How many minutes are in 3.4 years? All right, so we're going to start. 3.4 years. We got to get to minutes. Now, there's a bunch of ways you could go about this. Some students will go, okay, well, years to months, and then they go months to days, and some months have a different number of days. So it's easier just to say that, go from years to days. Now, in 1 year, we say that there are 365 days. It's actually like 365.25, right? Which is why every 4th year we have a leap year with an extra day. But we'll just say 365. This will cancel years and give us our number of days. Okay, so if we do 365 times 3.4, we're going to get about 1241 days. Now we have to get to minutes. So in 1 day, there are 24 hours. So if we take this number times 24, days will cancel, and we'll be left with our answer in hours. So I'm going to say times 24, which is 29784 hours. And we're not done because it's not asking for hours, it's asking for minutes. So I'm actually just going to take that number and bring it down here onto the next line, 29784 hours. And in 1 hour, there are 60 minutes. Hours will cancel, and we'll be left with our answer in minutes. So this same number, I'm just leaving it on my calculator, times 60. We get a big number, 1787040. So that's over 1 million minutes, closer to 2 million minutes in 3.4 years. Okay, thanks for hanging in there. There is a final challenge problem here. If you want to pause the video and try to figure this out, go ahead. You can see that these units are sort of nonsensical, but it says if 12 zots are in 1 zeal, 58 zeebs are in 7 zaws, and 15 zeals are in 3 zaws, how many zots are in 543 zeebs? What the heck is that? And the point here is it doesn't matter what the units are. These are just gibberish units. But if you know how a certain number of one is related to a certain number of the other, you can solve this problem. So pause the video if you want to, and then I'm going to work through it. Okay, so what we are given is 543. I'm going to move this up. We have 543 zeebs. So that's our starting point. 543 zeebs. Now, in terms of all of these equivalent statements, zeebs, right here it says 58 zeebs are in 7 zaws. So we can convert from zeebs to zaws. So zaws goes on top, and zeebs goes on bottom. There are 6 zaws in 58 zeebs. So if we do this, zeebs will cancel, and that will give us zaws. So 543 times 6 divided by 58. I'm going to leave this number in my calculator, okay? But just for clarity's sake, I'm going to jot down 56.17 approximately. I'm going to leave it in my calculator. So we have now converted from zeebs to zaws. Now, what do we know about zaws? Well, right here, it says that 3 zaws are in 15 zeals. So we can convert from zaws to zeals. If we multiply this, zaws is what we have, so zaws goes on bottom, and zeals goes on top. In 3 zaws, there are 15 zeals. So this will convert from zaws to zeals. So the number is still in my calculator. So I'm going to say times 15 divided by 3. Again, I'm going to leave this in my calculator, but pretty close to 281. We'll write 280.86. Zaws has been canceled, and this is now zeals. So I'm going to bring this down to a new line, about 280.86 zeals. Now we're trying to get to zots. And right here it says 12 zots are in 1 zeal. So what we're trying to find is zots. And what we have is zeals. In 1 zeal, there are 12 zots. So I'm going to take this number times 12. And I get this answer, which is about 3,370. Our units of zeals has canceled, and this is now in zots. Da 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 da, da 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 da. Holy moly. Look at that. The question was, how many zots are in 543 zeebs? Our answer is in zots. We went from zeebs to zaws, from zaws to zeals, and from zeals to zots. There's a lot of gibberish words, but you did it. So this has been practice. You need to do some on your own. I encourage you to watch other YouTube videos as well. Practice makes perfect. Memorize your metric prefixes and study your lesson packet. Keep up the good work. Hope you're doing well. This is Mr. Rosen. Out.